we think it's really fun to make Robo-Turkeys. Sometimes we use things that we've found in our recycling bin. It's fun to use seed pods. Occasionally we spray paint them with silver paint. Sometimes we just leave them looking a variety of colors. You'll see lots of different ideas here, and we'll show you some tricks for making them, but I'm sure you'll come up with all kinds of clever ideas. One fun way to make a Robo-Turkey is to cut a cork in half and then use some metal strip. You can cut the lengths of aluminum so they're about 1.5 inches long. On this one I used 7 pieces, but you could use any variety of numbers. Aluminum is really easy to cut with scissors. You can just cut one end so that it's curved to look like a feather. And to attach these metal tail feathers to your turkey, I like to use a nail. A kind of a short roofing nail works really well. One trick is that when you hammer it in, you can give it a little push to get it started. And then when you hammer it in, you want to leave it just a little bit loose so that you can adjust your feathers. And I used this kind of thick metal strip that's a little thicker than aluminum foil, but aluminum foil works just fine also. And some people think that cutting aluminum foil with your scissors actually helps to sharpen your scissors, so I wouldn't worry too much about hurting your scissors. It might be easier to put these legs in before you do the tail, so you don't have to worry about rumpling the tail. Okay, so here's the beak. I just folded a square of foil and I trimmed it so that when you open it up, it looks like a beak. I decided this one was a little too wide, so I just kept trimming. That's what we do in tinkering. We just keep modifying things until we like how it comes out. Now, to attach this beak to your turkey, you could use a pin and just push it through the foil into the cork, and that would hold it on. Or here I used a hot glue gun. You'll have to think about how you want to do eyes. You could use a black permanent marker and just make spots for your eyes, or I had a couple of shiny sequins that I decided to glue on. Remember that when you're gluing tiny things, put the hot glue on the larger item first and then put the tiny item onto the hot glue. If you try to put the hot glue onto the tiny item in your hand, you'll probably burn yourself. Here's another one where we used a can tab for the wattle. Here's one with paper for the beak and wattle. Now for this next one, I just used some old aluminum foil that was a little bit wrinkled, and I just smoothed it out a little, and then I folded it over a bunch of times until it was about the shape that I wanted my tail feathers to end up. And I was able to cut through a lot of layers of aluminum foil with the scissors and end up with a whole bunch of tail feathers that were ready to put onto my turkey. Now, it's a lot easier if you're using nails for your turkey's legs. It's a lot easier to hammer them in before you put the tail feathers on. So you'll just hammer them until you feel like they're pretty even, and then the turkey just sits like a little tripod. It kind of tilts back and uses those 2 legs to stay balanced. And then when you hammer in, especially when you're using this thinner foil, just make sure that you don't hammer the nail in all the way until you've positioned your tail feathers the way you want them. Because if you hammer it in all the way, the foil tends to rip as you try to spin it. And then once you have the tail feathers about where you want them, you can just hammer that nail in the rest of the way. Another fun thing about this project is because it has that nail in the back of it, these actually stick really well to strong refrigerator magnets. So you can actually stick this turkey onto your refrigerator pretty easily. So with this thinner foil, I just folded it to make the beak rather than cutting it because it was a little bit thinner. And then a can tab, if you happen to have a red one, that makes a pretty fun wattle. And if you just have the end of your beak be folded over a little, it gives it enough to be able to glue on. And on this one, I just used permanent marker for the eyes. And it's done. Fun project. Happy tinkering!